evening, all of you. I'm your technical host, and I would like to request Dr. Manish Pandya, sir, who is the moderator of the session, to please expedite the session. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Today is second day of our workshop, and this workshop is organized by Innovative Education and Scientific Research Foundation. This is very good initiative by this trust to encourage new young birds to put themselves, their knowledge into writing, into the paper. Because in India, we have got lots of data, but that is not compiled. So the all compiled data will get published in your Publon, in your all other Google Scholar, all websites, and you will be get encouraged. And recently the MCI has also got norms that every student, those who are pursuing their MD or MS, they must have at least one publication and one presentation in the conference, one publication in a reputed journal. So this workshop enlightens all these young birds and oldies like us to put their work into the words and get published and get noticed by the society. So thank you, Nikita madam and Rakesh ji, for giving me this opportunity to moderate today's session. Can we have digital light lamping, madam? Nikita ji? Thank you for this virtual lamp lightening. And today I would like to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Anu Sharma. Dr. Anu Sharma is working as a professor in the Department of Anatomy in Dayanand Medical College, Ludhiana, Punjab. She is in charge of Bioethics Unit and esteemed member of Institutional Ethical Committee. She is an accredited training faculty for 3T IBHSC course and internationally acclaimed faculty for bioethics webinars from the Department of Education. UNESCO chair in bioethics. Congratulations, madam. HIIFA. She is CMAL FIIMER fellow and certified BLS instructor. She is MCI approved resource faculty for workshop on various courses including medical education, science, technology, revised basic, CISP and AET-COM. She is an eminent anatomist with her more than 20 years of teaching experience. She is an editorial board of National Journal of Clinical Anatomist, that is NJCA, as a second editor of medical education. She is a reviewer for Journal of Anatomical Society of India, that is JASI, and NJCA and many other journals. She has been looking after research project as a supervisor and evaluator for postgraduate and undergraduate students, and madam has got more than 40 publications to his credit in national and international level. Madam, now this virtual platform is yours.
Thank you so much, sir, for this introduction. And I will just share my screen.
It is visible.
Right.
Yes, madam.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you. Good evening to all the attendees and esteemed chairperson, Dr. Amina, Dr. Dheeraj, and moderator, Dr. Manish Pandya. And I welcome all the attendees for this workshop on editors. So today I'm going to talk about roles and responsibilities of the editor. So before I begin, I would like to give a little bit of introduction to the what exactly is the meaning of the editor. So editor is a person responsible for the editorial aspects of publication, the person who determines the final content of a text of a journal, newspaper, or a magazine. So the definition itself is defining the role of the editor, how crucial is the editor for any publication process and the publication as such. The roles and the responsibilities of the editor are towards authors, towards reviewers, towards readers and scientific community. Because as we know that the editor role is very crucial for any publication process, the responsibility is not only lying for the authors, it is for the reviewers and for the readers as well. Now, the thing is, why are the journal's editor important? We must understand why the journal is required for any publication process, because they play a crucial role in the publication process. They are the single point of contact for authors throughout the publication cycle. And authors, they rely on them heavily, and they represent everything the journal stands for. But the question is, are the journal editors and authors aligned? Because if the responsibility of the editor is towards the author, which is of the prime importance and which is very pivotal, so we have to understand before defining the roles, are they aligned? These two roles are aligned. So the answer most of the time is no. And this no is documented also in one of the survey. A survey was done and there was a mismatch found between what authors think and what the journal's editors think. And what is the discrepancy and the mismatch in their thinking process and the presentations. So here is an example of one of the question in the survey which was put. One question in this survey was about the clarity of journal instructions. The survey respondents included both authors and the journal editors. And there were clear differences in the views of both groups. And this is evident in this graphic representation. As all of you can appreciate, that the journal instructions, like for the clear content and completeness of the any content like guidelines and everything which we initially give to the authors, that was unclear and incomplete as per 10% of the authors. And as you can see, the yellow color is indicating the unclear but complete, and almost 23% of the authors, they claim that this is the instructions and the guidelines are clear but incomplete. And almost 32%, they said the guidelines and the instructions given were clear and complete. But as you can see in this picture, what the journal editor said, and in their survey, 76% of the journal editors, they said the instructions are clear and complete. So we can see the clear mismatch between the thinking process and the alignment of the understanding, misalignment of the understanding regarding the instructions only. So the other questions which were pertinent with the same survey were like this, as you can also see, as I have put up over here. The authors think that they understand the publication ethics, but on the other hand, editors, they don't realize, they think that authors, they don't realize the importance of publication ethics. And then authors, what the editors think, that the authors only address the peer reviewer comments. And on the other hand, authors, they think that they respond carefully to all the peer reviewer comments. And editors, they have the, that discrepancy regarding the survey results as per the journal system and processes are also concerned. Because most of the authors, they think that it was insufficient and the editors think it is author friendly. So what can be done regarding this mismatch and the malalignment and the gaps between the what instructions are being given and what the author is thinking and what the editor is thinking. So that means there has to be some redefining or the meticulous designing of the journal editor's role play. So what that can be related with the clear author guidelines. So the one of the mainstay and the key important factor for the editor is to provide clear author guidelines so that the process becomes smooth, the process becomes less confusing and chaotic. So this is one of the most important point as far as responsibility and role of the uh, editor is concerned. Then second point is setting up efficient and author-friendly journal processes. So that's again the role of the editor, that the processes has to be uh, efficient and author-friendly so that the process become faster, the best publication practices are followed. So that's very important component of the editor's role. And then last but not the least, communicating with authors clearly, because the communication skill of the editor and especially the editor in chief has to be commendable. Only then the journal can progress to its newer and newer heights. So let's take the things one by one. So if I talk about providing clear author guidelines, so what are the guidelines which the ed editor should look into and mind those guidelines for the authors? So, and those guidelines, they are always there on the website. So before submitting a paper to a journal, authors always check the journal's website for detailed author guidelines. And the journal editors there should ensure that authors have all the information they need on the journal's website. It should be clear, it should be clearly visible and accessible to them. It's not that it is lying there, but it is not clear. So that clear part is also a very important component of putting up the guidelines. And accessibility, the author should be the things should be accessible to the author so that there is no confusion in mind of the authors whenever the author is ready to submit the process. Like, what are those instructions? These instructions are generally related with author guidelines for preparing and submitting the manuscript. So easy to access sample papers or formatting templates. So all these things, these two things, if the editor in advance look into the matter, that how the manuscript has to be prepared, the draft is there, and the proper homework is done by the editor and the editorial board team, then those things will be more accurate and the accuracy for the submission will be better. And easy to access sample templates, where the template for the journal, like what should be the format in which the author should submit the manuscript. So that should be clear and that should be over there. So this thing, all these things, this is the job of the editor to look into. And a clear statement of the journal policies on authorship criteria. I mean, the many a times these kind of questions as authors also be faced. And when we open the website, there is no document related with the journal's policies. And this is the job of the editor. The editor should ensure that the journal policies are also there on the site, on the website, which the author is following. Details of publication cost, and cost, it really makes a difference. I mean, if I have to publish somewhere, then I will just see how much means I have and how much I can afford and how much the institution is sponsoring and how can I present to the institution. If all these things are not clearly documented over there on the website, then the purpose is defeated. So this is another important and crucial job of the editor. This is a role and responsibility of the editor to put up all these important points while drafting the instructions or the guidelines for submission. Then policies on conflict. We have many a time seen that the conflicts can be personal, conflicts can be financial. So all those conflicts, if we are giving for the reviewers also, then it should be clearly stated, like what kind of policies we are looking into and what exactly we mean by the conflict, so that there is no confusion in the mind of the reviewers or the authors or anybody for that matter in the editorial staff member. Then we have another point, which is best practice guidelines for sharing experimental materials. Nowadays, there is a lot of legality involved with the experimental material. So if we state the guidelines properly on the website, then the research replication and as well as the research submission becomes easier for the authors, and they have more confidence in the process of the journal. An outline of the journal decision making process, including time to first decision, time to publication, open access policy, if any, and rejection rates. If we clearly state that, then again, as I said, the confidence building is very important amongst the authors if we really want to make our journal very progressive. Because if we clearly state and the people know, the authors know that this much time is taken for the decision, this much time is taken for reviewing, so that really accelerates the process, as well as the publishing practices, they also become better for the journal. So these all things, they come under the domain of responsibility of the editor. The editor should ensure about all these guidelines to be put on the website. Then we come to the second point, which is setting up efficient and author-friendly journal processes. Now, what the journal editor should do about setting up efficient and author-friendly journal processes. And as we all know, that this process is, again, very, very crucial, because if the process is not smooth, then the good articles, and because nowadays nobody is having that much of time to spend idly, you're just wasting time on the website is not friendly, nobody will be uploading those kind of articles, they will be looking for the other journal availability. So journal editors should manage large submission volumes. Smooth and efficient journal processes will help reduce not only the burden of editors and as well as authors. So all these things will ensure that there is a better process of submission. Now, what all these things include: automated workflow system for smooth submission and manuscript status tracking. If I have something over there, I have submitted my manuscript, I definitely would like to know after a month or so, like where my document has reached, where my manuscript has reached. So if there is an automatic system, and if the editor can ensure and can make it available on the site, that it is going to be very handy for the authors. And nowadays everybody is time bound for the manuscript publications because of the promotion policy also. So this is going to be a very good practice if the editor looks into this kind of thing meticulously. Then format and process for pre-submission inquiries. Like if somebody wants to inquire, then there should be proper email, there should be proper personnel dedicated to this kind of a thing. It should be available to the author to make the process, to make it facilitating for the author. System for effective and rapid peer review should be there, so that the decision making of the manuscript can be as early as possible. Because as I have seen in many indexing agencies, they just look into the matter, that how much rapid is the peer review, how much is the waiting window for any of the article. So if the editor looks into this particular aspect and pay attention to it, then the indexing can get better, and author's process and the publication quality and the paper quality, the research quality which is submitted to the journal, will also get better. Procedure for reconsidering editorial decisions. So all these components which I'm talking about is the job and the responsibility of the editor to look into, and as well as to share with the authors um, on the websites or through mails. If somebody has inquiry, then they can send it through the mail also. Process for handling ethical issues or allegations or findings of misconduct. So, I mean, I would prefer, if somebody, I mean, some of the publishing houses, they can afford, then there should be some legal backup also. Because no, so many legalities are involved nowadays for ethical issues. And if one is safeguarded for this, then again, the rating and the fallback for that journal becomes better. Mechanism to ensure timely publication of accepted manuscript. By the end of everything, I mean, this is something which is the final process, final step of the publication. And if editor looks into this job and ensures that timely results are there and timely publication is there, I'm 100% sure then the rating, and all of us would like to go for that very journal, because we know the efficiency of that particular journal is good. And then the other, I mean, all these processes which are involved in the journal submission, which the editor should look after, proofreading, and that proofreading can be done with the help of the editor, can delegate all these jobs for grammar, sentence structure, formatting, and these can be added, I mean, these can be screened at the very initial stage when the article is submitted, before going to the peer review also. So, and then proofreading checklists can be provided, so that all these components, if editorial comments are given, then those are properly addressed by the author or not, and it is professionally edited. Is that done? And is the structure and presentation of the document is final? Peer or professional given you constructive criticism. So peer review also needs to be checked by the editor time and again. If not every time, then in between, randomly, the editor can go through the reviewers' comments, so that, and I have seen many of the journals now, they have started giving the award for the best review, and that is published on the website, and that is because otherwise this job is really not that much rewarding. But if one does a better job and good job and gets rewarded in the form of certification, then it really drives better proof checking and reviewing. So what's included? All these things can be included: logic and clarity of ideas, consistency of voice and usage, repetitive or missing words. All these things are the inherent characters or the components of proofreading by the editor. The editor, if is doing something at his or her own levels or delegating it, even that is good enough. And then the editor has to understand the difference between the copy editing and reading. On the basis of that, the editor can delegate the job properly. So that's an important component, that there should be clarity of definitions to the editor, so that the roles and responsibilities are played better. Now I come to the communication, and this communication is not only required for editors, it is required for everybody, and AdCom module we all are following, but more so as far as journal publication is concerned, editors and editor-in-chief, they require it the most. So it's a major part of journal editors' daily responsibilities. Authors attach great importance to everything a journal editor says. It's a journal editor's duty to ensure that all communication with the author is clear, complete, and objective. Because if something is clearly stated, definitely the response of the author is going to be better. And it has to have clear objectives, not beating about the bush. And if it is targeted on what were the faults, whether there is a major rewrite or there is a minor rewrite, all that communication should be on the part of journal's editor, and it should be defined in a very proper and systematic manner. What all the communication can be done, and what all things can be kept in mind while communicating, treating all authors with fairness, courtesy, objectivity, honesty, and transparency. So this is very, very important. I mean, if you are fair, then definitely the credibility of the journal increases, and the publications also increase. And the courtesy, yes, definitely, because if we sometimes we have to reject the article, but that doesn't mean that we have to discourage the author. There has to be proper courtesy, and we can always encourage, and we can tell certain points like this can be done better in this way, so that the person gets some direction also, and the confidence in you gets increased, and in the journal in nutshell. So courtesy and honesty, all these are very important characteristics while communicating. Projecting the confidentiality of every author's work, and transparently outlining the decision-making process and all editorial policies for authors. I mean, the decision-making process, the whatever we have received as an editor from the reviewer, the same thing should be going to the authors. That is the responsibility of the editor. The editor should look into the matter, and pay keen interest that the same thing, and there is no, I mean, here and there something hanky-panky going on. So that thing, if the editor looks into, then the seriousness and again the credibility, I would say, of the journal increases. Making editorial decisions with reasonable speed and communicating them in a clear and constructive manner. I mean, the editor can make the objective list and the checklist, and on that basis, if the decisions are sent, then that will make more sense to the author. The author will be more clear, and the author will think that this decision is unbiased to me. Being vigilant in avoiding the possibility of editors or referees delaying a manuscript for suspect reasons. Regularly reviewing instructions for authors. It's not that once the editor has framed the instructions and posted on the website, then that person should just leave that job. No, the editor should time and again review the instructions, because sometimes with the changing time, the instructions might be changing, there might be a need to change the instructions. So the editor should review the instructions, should review the policies for handling ethical issues, because every day there is something new coming up, and if some new legality has come up, then the author should see to it that the policies are reviewed. Helping authors identify essential and non-essential changes in the peer review reports. Because if the editor communicates to the author and in a good spirit, then the confidence in the journal increases. So it is a responsibility of the editor to get in touch with the author, so that the things are better understood by the author. So after having said that, I would like to touch upon a little bit extra or additional responsibilities of the editor-in-chief, which is most importantly, it includes excellent editorial judgment. And for that, the editor-in-chief should realize whether the content is appropriate and should determine the right time to publish the content. Because there might be sometimes the workload is more and the articles are more in number, and the priority has to be made. So that judgment by the editor-in-chief is very crucial. So he should understand, he or she. The editor-in-chief particularly, I mean, all the editors should have, but editor-in-chief particularly should have a great leadership skill, and which includes strategic thinking, because if you have a great vision, then definitely you reach way beyond. So developing a vision of where you want to be, if you want to get the journal better and better indexing, then there has to be better plans and better delivery. So that thing, editor-in-chief has to think how to achieve that vision and dealing with the challenges along the way. People management is again a very big task, finding the right people and motivating them to work towards the vision. So for that thing, sometimes one needs to change the management also. Sometimes the people, due to any circumstance, due to any reason, might not respond to the need of the task. So at that moment, there can be change in the management, and that editor-in-chief should have the clear instinct about it, when to change the management. Communication, of course, if the communication is good, you can do wonders, and you can get the job cracked by the, I would say, the laziest bum also. So communication, working on the best ways to communicate your vision to others and listening to ideas, that's very important. And because you are a leader, you are not a boss, you have to be a motivator, you have to be encouraging others to help you achieve your vision by demonstrating the advantages, what we will achieve if we are going this with this formula. So that the editor-in-chief has to inculcate all those virtues in the people with whom he is interacting and want to progress for the journal. And communication skill over there does not end if one is not having interpersonal skill, and that really requires a good relationship management. If somebody is having some personal problem and you are not going to look into the matter, the situation is going to be from bad to worse. So all these are the responsibilities of the editor-in-chief, that how to achieve the best teamwork, staying positive with all the workers. Everybody is having some virtue or the other. The we as editor-in-chief can explore that and make use of that. Problem solving skills, questioning, emotional intelligence. Sometimes somebody is in a bad mood, somebody is having a very big emotional turmoil in the life. That person will not listen to your commands that nicely. So that moment one has to understand that this moment I can't talk to the person like that to get the work done. And then conflict resolution, there can be many interpersonal conflicts in the working place with the team, so that we can look into as, and that is the responsibility and the role of the editor-in-chief. And time management is the, I would say, one of the most crucial requirement. Because why I say that, because if we are not disciplined in our jobs, then we will not be getting the desired goal. So time, for the time management, the editor-in-chief especially has to prioritize, and after making the priorities, then the schedules can be made, to-do list can be arranged, and then the delegation of the jobs can be done. So the time management is another a very important and crucial role of the editor-in-chief. Organizing skill, what is done and what needs to be done, very meticulously keeping the records and being organized. Again, the checklist can be done, can be kept, and every day, 1 or 2 hours or whatever, depending on the workload, should be kept to screen, to streamline the thing, so that the things are organized, and that way it is going to be very helpful. So after, the main responsibility of the editor is towards the author, but that does not mean that for the reviewers also, the editor should have very clear policies and instructions, and assigning papers for reviewing appropriate to each reviewer's area of interest and expertise should be there. So, if suppose, for example, our journal is of anatomy and physiology. If the anatomy article is going towards the physiology people, then we are not going to achieve the goal, and that is not a good policy. So the editor in chief and editors, other and the associate editors and the assistant editors, all those, the editorial board can also pitch in to get these things streamlined. So for the reviewers also, we have a great responsibility as editors, and establishing a process for reviewers to ensure that they treat the manuscript as a confidential document and complete the review promptly, informing reviewers that they are not allowed to make any use of word describes, and giving them alerts that this is the time frame in which they have to send it back. So that is our duty as editors towards the reviewers. And then for the readers, I mean, evaluating all manuscripts considered for publication to make certain that each provides the evidence readers need to evaluate. So if we are publishing something, then we should think of it, what our readers want. Our readers want evidence-based studies, something latest, something new. So that also is the job of the editor to make the decision. While making the decision, what is good for a reader and community as such, for the scientific community, because whatever research we are undertaking, what benefit it is giving to the scientific community. So that has to be looked into by the editor only. And last but not the least, we have some duty towards the publisher also, because we are conducting the peer reviews of submitted manuscripts. And while doing all this thing, we have to comply with the guidelines and procedures of the owner organization, including any terms specified in the contract with that organization. So that's very important, that whatever the publication house or the journal owner has made the policies, we abide by that. So that is again the responsibility of the editor. So to sum it up, the journal's editors should provide clear author guidelines, set up efficient and author-friendly journal processes, communicate with authors clearly, and this will benefit authors and journal editors both. How it is going to benefit them? So there is going to be better submission package for the authors, best publication practices are going to be there, and there is going to be lesser chance of authors misunderstanding, and it will increase the author's confidence. And it is going to be very much beneficial for the journal as well as for the editor. The quality of submission is going to be improved. It will reduce the clutter and set up smoother submission cycles, and thereby it will reduce the burden on journal editors. So communication with the authors is really going to be very helpful for the smoothening of the process and fast forwardness of the process. Seen as advisor and thought leaders, the authors will look up to the editors as advisors and thought leaders. So that's going to be a great bonding between the authors and the editors if the job is played nicely. So this content has been adapted from all these places. So this is the resource. So in the end, I would like to wind up by saying that good planning plus organization is going to lead to less stress, and that job is of the editor. So editor can, while the whole thing is going on, if it just minds all these things properly, then the stress is going to be less for the journal and the publication. So with this, I thank you to all the attendees for their patient listening, and I thank you, the IESRF team, for giving me the opportunity to present the role and responsibilities of the editor. Thank you so much. So I end with the slogan that the editor's duty is of care, loyalty, and good faith, because confidentiality has to be maintained and fair dealing is to be there. So thank you so much, and I would welcome any question now, if it is there.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your clear and lucid presentation on role and responsibilities of the editor. I
Thank
especially like the ADCOM model that you incorporated in the editorial aspect. The editor-in-chief, the skill and the communication with the author, that is most important nowadays. And this is a need of our, as per our NMC. So it is included in your lecture. That's very interesting and very adapt the existing knowledge to ourselves, because we are the budding editors. So it is most beneficial for us to accept and to encourage the authors for the proper communication as well as the skills of the editor. I must highlight the topic that is skill of editor should be important, so that it is most important for the journal prosperity as well as to avoid the any conflict of interest regarding the author's journal as well as the publisher. So I am very thankful on the
Thank
behalf of IESRF
you.
Innovative Publication for your lucid and interesting as well as point-wise as well as clear presentation, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dheeraj, and congratulations, Dr. Anu,
Thank you.
for fantastic presentation.
Thank
Just
you.
would like to end with one sentence that Spider-Man always says, great power, great responsibility. So here the editor-in-chief has a great responsibility. And if you
Right.
see, it is a pyramid, it's the top of pyramid, and there are lots of people to take care of. And you
Yes.
had rightly mentioned that previously when the journal has started, I am editor-in-chief of Indian Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecological Research. So at that time, we have got few articles and few editors are there. Now, day by day, our family expands. So you see, when family expands, there are advantages and there are disadvantages.
Disadvantages.
Okay. So first question by Dr. Pavan Kumar Kare. It is good to accept editorship of many journals, madam? Because nowadays you see lots of journal. If suppose I am editor-in-chief, so now other people are popping in, and now you should become our journal editor. So what is your take on?
See, I mean, again, it varies from person to person, because the individual stamina is variable. I mean, if you talk of me, then if I am able to handle one journal at a time properly, and I am, playing a role of that editor meticulously, that's what I require. If you can handle 2 or 3 journals, that's up to you. But sometimes it gets messy. I mean, I won't recommend that. Being an editor of more than one journal is required, because the dedication and commitment to that journal gets reduced. And every day, as I said in my, this is what I feel, the organization skill of that the parameter, I mean, how many hours you can spend in a day for
Yes.
editorial process, that you have to see. If you can split it up into 3 journals nicely, then it's all right. But I would recommend daily 1 to 2 hours you should spend, if not 1 to 2 hours, minimum 1 hour. So do you have 3 hours every day to spend to the journal? So that's up to you, but from my side, it's not a healthy practice.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Even I am on that opinion that I am busy with one journal, so I have to spare at least 1 to 1.5 hours. Sometimes when there is I have to write editor desk, it took me 3 to 3.5 hours.
Yes.
So it
And
is just
just
it is
for,
just like it's just like Anuji, how many wives you can take care? If I am happy with one only, then I should be happy with one, so I can make that one more happier. Secondly, now this our journal has started recognizing editors. Recently they had given us commendable editor-in-chief award like that. So it is just an encouragement. And
Yeah.
third most important thing, that how much dedication you do your work.
Yeah.
There are another question from Gingwar Singh Dor, that how the financial requirement of a scientific journal are managed if the journal is not the one which belongs to the association. I don't understand the question, but financial requirement should be borne by the person, those who want to publish their paper. What is your
And
take on that?
by subscribing to the journal, I mean, subscription to the journal will add fund for the journal's progress. So
Yes,
that's
madam.
what we generally do in our society. Whatever our society, for example, if I am from Anatomical Society of India or Clinical Society of India, So what I will just recommend the people to be to go for membership. More and more membership will have more and more inflow of money, and you need fund to run any organization. And secondly, one can seek the sponsorship from the big houses like Walter Kluwer or anybody like, anything like that. So that is something. The funding is totally again one aspect of the journal which can be considered a big problem if there are less member and there is no sponsorship. So funding needs to be there, and one has to motivate the other people to have more and more members and subscribing to the journal.
So if corpus is good, then we can
Yes.
facilitate more people. Another question from anonymous attendee, that indexing is a paid service? Indexing.
Indexing is a paid service. That's a very a question. A paid service means what? It's not that you are bribing or something. For the process you are giving, and for the process anything requires some money, and otherwise they don't require that kind of money, that for indexing you need money.
If we talk about the indexing agencies, apart from Index Copernicus, none of the standard indexing agencies, they ask money, right? So it is not a paid. Only the substandard indexing agencies like Index Copernicus, they ask 15,000 for the purpose. Otherwise, it is not a paid service.
Thank you. Thank you,
Right.
Dr.
Yes,
Ravi.
agreed. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi.
Last question is, madam, is there any guideline for minimum requirement of a member in editorial board and their tenure? It is
There is no specified guidelines. It is the it can be the choice of the publication house also to select or to choose, and if that person's profile fits into that category of the specialist journal and the subject of interest to which that journal is dedicated, so that person can be chosen. So there is no clear-cut guidelines of how many years of editorship or anything you require. It's just your competency and your experience and the choice of the management, the publication.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. I am editor in chief since inception of the journal. So thank you that the innovative house that they had not removed me. Then there is no fixed tenure. Thank you, Nikita ji and Rakesh sir. Madam, last combined question. What is the role of guest editor? Number one. And number two, can editor in chief remove a member from editorial board on his misconduct without discussing with other members?
I'll answer the second question first.
First.
Yes, because see, editor-in-chief, there are people above editor-in-chief also. Like
Yes.
there are managing editors, there is a publication house, and there is a owner of the journal, if it is the society, or whosoever is the owner. So without taking them into confidence, because you are also answerable to the people beyond you, so ahead of you, or you who are superior to you. So you cannot take this kind of decision. You can give the recommendation to your superior.
I am not happy with this person because so many times he has refused to review the paper, and this nowadays is happening a lot. You assign a reviewer, and then on next day reviewer says I am unable to review, then you have to assign it to again. But this is now a good procedure that previously we assigned, we don't know to whom we had assigned and to whom has refused. Now the journal has got very good website. Nikita ji, I must congratulate you and Rakesh for this fantastic portal, that there is a list of reviewer, you just click on, then review sent, and if he or she doesn't agree, then it will come that he is disagree. So you can review, you can assign to another person. So now it is just a crystal clear that this person has not agreed to review. Yes, Nikita ji, you want to say something?
In addition to this answer, as a representative of Innovative Education and Scientific Research Foundation,
Yes,
I
madam.
would like to inform all the editors that we are following the standard guidelines by COPE, Committee of Publication Ethics, ICMJE, WAM, World Association of Medical Editors, etc. So just like the question is, what is the minimum criteria for an editor? So there it is predefined by this organizations, and our editors editorial board can decide this all the minimum criteria, and we can put it into the website, and on the basis of that the board should be decided how and the committee members team of the IESRF should be decided who is making the guideline for the editorialship. They decided who will make the editor-in-chief and other designation in the editorial. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. And Anuji, we have got lots of questions for you. So it shows that your topic is very much enlightened and ignite the people to write the question. So I will request.
Dr. Jha has raised his hand, so I think.
Okay.
Yes,
Dr.
yes,
Anu,
sir.
let me first of all.
Welcome, President.
All right. Let me first of all congratulate you for a very scholarly presentation. And I, in lighter vein, keep on saying that role of an editor finally becomes like a magician's role. So with his magic wand, he has to solve and integrate all the associations and all the problems. Now, you have very rightly said that an editor is not only connected with a reviewer and author, he has responsibility to the reading community. Well, when we consider the reading community, I think if it is general journalism, it will be different. But when it is medical journalism, the editor will have to decide that what is the latest trend. Can he give weightage to an article maybe submitted later, but which follows the recent trend? So do you have any comments that how an editor can redefine the acceptance of articles with which is in line with the modern trends?
Sir, I think I would just say like that nowadays, as we all know, that there is a more of stress on evidence-based studies.
Right.
So our preference should be that. And secondly, like in this pandemic situation, I would say, like all the things, like suppose if I'm from anatomy, I have worked in, for example, some bones, osteology. I mean, if that is going to be relevant, or something which I do genetic analysis on something which is pertaining to today's scenario, so that weightage can be seen, and based on that, the decision can be made, and this should be prerogative of the editor-in-chief and all the editorial board to do so. I mean, if there is pandemic, and if I'm talking about basic sciences, there can be clinical sciences journal. And if somebody has studied and there is a good research on COVID, so that thing should be given priority. I mean, on that basis, the decision can be made.
Even while writing an editorial, just now there was a question that what is the role of a guest editor? So during these times, you have to look into what is the current or what is the recent trend. I think you'd like to agree.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree, because see, in our journals, Dr. Ravi is also sitting here, and he has given us, I mean, it was a great honor to receive an editorial from him and his team, and it was related with the COVID situation only, and that was an editorial. So, I mean, if we are writing something which is pertinent to today's scenario and today's situation, so that is more welcome than the routine thing. That's what
Right. And as far as the tenure of editor or editor-in-chief is concerned, if the journal belongs to a society, the society has got rules framed that what will be the tenure or what will be the criteria for selection. So then that becomes binding.
Yes, I agree, sir. Because that will be kind of a job rules, as
Right.
it's a job rule. So that editor-in-chief's, I mean, you have defined the job policy. So that will be something like that.
Right.
Like in US and all, they are giving the editor-in-chief or editor, those are the paid jobs. The salary, you get the salary over there. So I mean, there must be, and there are retirement benefits also. So all those things they are doing.
Right.
So
Thank
we
you.
would request
Doc-
IESRF to give us retirement benefits.
Dr. Manish, thank you very much. You have conducted it so well. And once again, Dr. Anu,
Thank
well
you.
done.
Thank you, Dr. Anu. There are lots of questions. You can see 17 questions are there in chat box. Because of time constraint, we are not able to take this many questions. So I
Yes,
will
and
request.
Dr. Ravi is also waiting
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
next lecture.
So I will request that you can answer, you can go in question and answer session and answer the question if it is good with you. And I would like to ask Dr. Dheeraj Nakum to give a plaque to Dr. Anu Sharma. Is Dr. Dheeraj Nakum is with us? Amina madam?
Yes, he was there.
He was there, but at present I am not seeing him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir. You are there. Just sign like our Nikum from Tare Jami Par.
Yes, sir.
Because I heard that surname Nikum from Tare Jami Par.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
might
sir.
have seen the
Definitely.
picture. You might have seen the picture.
Yes, sir.
So now you can give plaque to Dr. Anu.
Yes, sir. On the behalf of IESRF, we welcome and congratulate ma'am for her lucid presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikita ji. Now you can start the class. Thank you, Nikita ji, for this lucid video. Thank you, Anu madam. And
Thank you.
I hope that you will query the answer of all this, all the answers you will
And
clarify.
I would like to pay my regards to Dr. Jha, Dr. Amina, and my colleague, Dr. Sabita, who is sitting here and was present all the time and giving her patience and everything. And I welcome Dr. Ravi. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I would like to say thanks to all the IESRF team, Madam Nikita and Rakesh sir, and their whole team. Wonderful support we are getting from them.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Dr. Anu. Dr. Anu for a wonderful
so much, ma'am.
presentation. Very mesmerizing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We're really grateful. And on behalf of IESRF, I also extend my gratitude to take the time out and do such a wonderful job and add to our knowledge. It was really a nice presentation. We'll
Thank
come
you,
back to you
ma'am.
for the feedback.
You are an inspiration to all of us.
Not at
Thank
all,
you,
Dr.
ma'am.
Anu. You're being very humble. Thank you so much.
I agree with
Thank-
Anu ma'am. Amina ma'am is
Thank-
always there.
Yeah,
No, no, no,
I am really impressed by the way she organizes and her presentation is always fantastic.
This is all because of your support and the positive encouragement I get it from you, my delegates and their participation, and especially Nikita ma'am and you all, the entire IESRF. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to such kind of a support in the future also. We'll be having series
Sure.
of such webinars in future also.
Thank you.
once
Thank you,
again.
Amina madam. We are in the
Thank you.
leadership of
Thank you.
Sultan, you see.
Thank you, Dr. Manish,
you.
for your
Thank you.
lucid
Yes, Dr.
comparing. Thank you,
Right.
Dr.
Yeah,
Hi,
Dr.
madam,
Manish-
we are with under the leadership of Sultan, that is Amina Sultan, you see.
Thank you so
So-
much. Thank
So
you,
now
sir.
I would
Thank-
like to invite another speaker, Dr. Kumar Satish Ravi. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And there is a common friend between you and me is Dr. Singhal. He has given regards to you. He is from Jamnagar, anatomy professor, and he was my
Great.
professor. So
Oh,
it said,
great.
let's give regards to Dr. Ravi.
Please
Dr.
convey
Kumar-
my regards to sir.
Yes, sir. Dr. Kumar Ravi acquired his medical degree from Sri Krishna Medical College and Hospital in Muzaffarnagar and earned MD Anatomy from Indian Prime Institute, Jipmer, Pondicherry. His educational accomplishments include FAMER Fellowship from Manipal University, Fellow of IMSA and DLIT from California Public University, MBA in Hospital Management, Healthcare, and currently pursuing his PhD. Congratulations, sir. You are not tiring at all. Dr. Ravi has served as assistant professor and course director in head of anatomy in School of Medicine, Spantan Health Science University, St. Lucia, North America, and is well-known administrator, served as a chairperson and member in several committees and worked as a assistant dean academic and sub-dean academic in AIMS Rishikesh. Presently, he is working as an additional professor and having additional charge of assistant controller of examiner and additional proctor in the same institute. Ravi enjoys sharing his knowledge of anatomy and medical education experiences with students, and he received Best Teacher Award in 2018 and Best Professor of the Year Award and Best Researcher Award in 2021. Thank you very much, sir. And sir has presented so many papers and is confirmed as a Best Paper Awards. He is life member of so many society. Now, sir, this dais is yours, and he is editor-in-chief of National Journal of Clinical Anatomy, NJCA, and official journal of the Society of Clinical Anatomists. Last year, he would get a journal listed DOAJ and Scopus within a year. Congratulations, sir. Now the
Thank you so
dais
much.
is yours, or the virtual dais is yours on strategy of editorial process. Dr.
Thanks
Ravi.
a lot, sir. So good evening, one and all. First of all, I would like to congratulate this organizing team and the innovative publications for sponsoring, and the organizing team for organizing this International Researchers Workshop 2021. And I'm grateful to Professor Anu Sharma ma'am for inviting me to deliver a talk. So I have been requested to discuss the editorial board strategies, and I would like to discuss my personal experience with National Journal of Clinical Anatomy rather than discussing, you say, the generally or the theoretical aspect. I think it will make better sense since NJCA got indexed under Scopus and DOJ in a very brief period following these strategies, what we followed at NJCA. So the very first thing I would like to say, the day I was elected as editor-in-chief, there were many challenges ahead of me, what I wanted to solve those challenges. So the very first challenge in front of me was to form a new editorial board. Though I was elected on 14th March 2020, but I took charge of editor-in-chief in the month of April. So the very first thing was there in my mind to form a new editorial board, which should consist not only the national editorial board from the country, but from the abroad as well. And then the pretty question was asked regarding the finance part. Somebody asked that question. So that was also one of the challenge in front of me, to be economically stable. Apart from that, because this journal was not indexed under any indexing agency, not even under Copernicus, so you can understand, as Dr. Manish sir was saying, that getting articles for publishing one issue also was very difficult. So to attract the new submission was another challenge in front of me. And then because we were not having articles, we were not having the manuscript, so obviously it was very difficult to release the new issues on time. And apart from that, the most important or the most difficult challenge, you can say, that was the indexation. So when your journal is not indexed, nobody is going to ask you, and nobody will send your their manuscript for the publication. But once your journal is indexed, all these issues what I discussed, all those challenges what I discussed will be overcome automatically if your journal gets indexed. You will have means people will love to join your editorial board. You will have economic stability because you can have the publication charges. And then apart from that, even the you say the members of the society, they will be willing to subscribe the journal because it is indexed under some of the reputed indexing agencies. And then apart from that, even some of the senior members, they will be happy to donate some of the funds for the growth of the journal. And then if your journal is indexed, automatically you will receive so many manuscripts, those who will be willing to publish in your journal because it is indexed. Because if you see, people publish because of two reasons. In India, if we talk, basically they publish their manuscript to get promoted, because now the NMC also has also given the guidelines that apart from the experience, then this number of publications is mandatory so that the faculty member will be promoted. So then when you have the manuscripts for the publication, automatically you will be able to release, or you will be able to publish your issue on time. So what I wanted to say, that these challenges we had, and as an editor-in-chief, we had to solve those challenges, we have to face those, and accordingly we have to find the solution as a editor-in-chief by forming the different editorial strategies. So when I took as an editor-in-chief, I said that I invited people from the India and abroad to all the anatomists to join our editorial board. And in the invitation, you say we followed specific standards or the criteria. We gave some conditions to be eligible for the reviewer, or you say to become the editorial board member of National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. Like we fixed some of the years of experience. Then apart from that, number of publications like 15 or 15 publications should be mandatory to become the editorial board member. And those publications should be preferably under indexed under the PubMed or the Scopus. And apart from that, they should have a specialty in sub-specialization, like some of them are good in embryology or the histology, or you say the radiology. So all those criteria we have defined, and then they should be proficient in the English knowledge also. Apart from that, they should be having the knowledge of the COPE or the guidelines for the editors which has been defined. So all those criteria we defined. And then we invited the members to join our editorial board. And you will be surprised to know that we received an incredible response, not only from the various parts of the country, but from the world as well. So you can see over here, these are the different criteria or the guidelines we defined in the invitation. And then accordingly, the people love to join the editorial board of National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. Now, after this invitation, now it was the duty of us to form the new editorial board, and we meticulously chose the experts so that the new editorial board should be an amalgamation of, you say, the learned, experienced, and not only the learned and the experienced, you say, even the doyens of the field, or you say the stalwarts of the field. Apart from that, we also preferred to have some editorial board members who are young and the dynamic, so that when we leave this editorial board, those members who will be trained under our guidance will take over the journal. So our editorial board was a mix of the experienced and the young and the dynamic members. So what I wanted to say over here, that it is essential to find the right balance, but at the same time, I feel the editorial board should be decorated with the pioneers of the field. So for that, include people with a range of subject interest, you can say, or ideally covering the breadth of the journals, you can say, the subject area. Like our journal, it is related to the anatomy. So the different subspecialty of the anatomy should be included in the editorial board. That will help in the streamlining or the maintaining the quality of the manuscripts from the each subspecialty. Apart from that, we also took care of the things like the gender. There should be no gender bias. The male should also be there. The female should also be there. Apart from that, ethnicity, and even we preferred during this formation of the editorial board, the geographical location, because all these factors will help your journal in getting the journal indexed, because it should not be like that from so many editorial board members from a particular institute or from the particular area. So to form the editorial board, there should be a diversity from the north, south, east, west, and we have taken all these cares while forming the editorial board. Apart from that, we have maintained a majority of the active boards, because when you see, you need both kind of people in the editorial board. You should have the stalwarts or the doyens of the field, so that they can lend their prestige, and your journal should be known as the editorial board is decorated with the pioneers of the field. So we should have the stalwarts as well as those members who can contribute actively, right? So they should give their time in the welfare of the journal. So we have taken care of all those things while forming the new editorial board. Now, as the finance is very important in publishing the journal, right? Because I, as an editor-in-chief, my vision was that finance should never be a hurdle in publishing their research work. So very rarely you will see that some of the journal will reduce their publication charges. But when I took as editor-in-chief, my criteria, because I was getting so many requests from the southern states of the country, you say that we are not being paid so much. So the publication charges, which initially it was 8,500, is too much for the National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. As an editor-in-chief, you should reduce the publication charges, because, and keeping the request of the young anatomist or the budding anatomist, you say, as an editor-in-chief, I took the decision and I reduced the publication charges from 8,500 to 4,999, so that the more number of manuscripts should be submitted to the journal, and the finance should not be an hurdle. Then, apart from that, what I said, that by reducing the publication charges, we facilitated and encouraged the budding authors to ensure more submissions. So as I said, I never wanted that either in the publication or doing the research work, the finance should be a hurdle. So it is always better to keep in the mid the indexation status also. If your journal is not indexed and the publication charges is too much, nobody is going to submit their manuscript for the publication in your journal. Apart from that, even if your journal is indexed under high, or you say the good indexing agencies, the publication charges should not be much, right? Only thing you should, as an editor-in-chief, your responsibility is that your expenditure should be made up by the, you say, the publication charges. It should not be a source of income. So keeping those things in mind, we reduced the publication charges. Then, as to maintain, for the economic stability, what I did, that we started the subscription drive, right? And there will be two types of subscription drive, one for the institution and one for the individual. So what we did, because institution, they can pay a huge amount, whereas the individual subscribers will have difficulty in paying the huge amount as a subscriber. So what we did, for the institutional subscription charges, we increased, and to make it a balance, what we did, that from the individual subscriber, we reduced the subscription charges. So for the institution, we made it 10,000 subscription charges, whereas for the individual, we made it 2,000 as a subscription charges. So from the institution, we were earning and we were economically stable, whereas for the individual subscribers, the society was paying, as you say, the subsidy, you can say. So this way, what we did to strengthen the economy, we started this drive, and we were constantly encouraging anatomists to subscribe individually and for their institution, which can contribute to the journal's growth, because we never wanted to give the burden to the authors by increasing further publication charges. So, and what we did, that we used to acknowledge them on the public platform and the social media. So because of that, what used to happen, that others also gets motivated to subscribe. And you will be surprised that we have a very good number of institutional subscription right now and individual subscriber. And because of that, we are economically very much stable right now. Apart from that, there were senior members of the Anatomical Society, you say, who donated generously. And because of that, in the last financial year, I can disclose that we got almost 6 lakh rupees as a donation. So that was also an addition to become economically stable. So that will also, same thing, the other editor-in-chief or the editorial board members can follow to become economically stable. So already I said that we revised the subscription charges, and while revising the subscription charges, we took all those cares from where to increase and where to decrease. Now, apart from that, previously our journal, they don't used to give any receipt. What we did that we started providing e-receipt to all the subscribers, whether it is institutional subscribers or it is individual subscribers, and even those who used to publish their manuscripts in our journal, we used to provide the e-receipt, because in some institutions, you say like institution of national importance, like you can say AIMS, PGI, or you say the JIPMER, they from there, the authors, they used to get reimbursed whatever amounts they used to pay as the publication charges. So because of that, the members and authors, they used to get it reimbursed, their publication charges and the subscription charges. And this way, we were more accountable and systemic, and which made us more trustworthy, you can say. Now, as I said, the biggest challenge we had that our journal was not indexed, right? So, and as per the revised guidelines given by the National Medical Commission, you say the index Copernicus indexation was no more considered for the promotion of the faculty since 2022, you can say, right? So hence, we channelized many of the editorial processes and insisted on going for DOAJ in spite of going for the index Copernicus, right? And for that, we give emphasis to the publishers. Earlier, the National Journal of Clinical Anatomy, we used to publish by, you say, the THEMA publishers, right? So we made THEMA to apply for this DOAJ, and you can say that because of our strong editorial board and regular follow-up, in the quickest possible time, our journal got indexed under DOAJ. So I took charge in the month of April, you say, and our journal got indexed under DOAJ on 25th or you say 26th May. So this was the, you say, one of the big win for the editorial board, or as an editor-in-chief, you can say, of the National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. And this was the only journal of anatomy, you can say, which was indexed under DOAJ that time. So this was celebrated among the fraternity of anatomy, you can say, when we got our journal indexed under DOAJ. Now, during this period, the National Journal of Clinical Anatomy was getting recognized globally, you can say, and it also added a journal, you can say, the charm, and we started receiving manuscripts from the foreign authors as well, because it got indexed under DOAJ. Apart from that, there is an international society, IFA, we say, they have the Federative International Committee for Scientific Publications. So I was invited to join, and at present, you can say, there are total 19 members across the world, you can say, and from India, the two editor-in-chief of anatomy, you can say, one Dr. Vishram Singh, and another I could join this IFA, you can say, as an editor-in-chief of National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. Apart from that, the IMSA is there, International Medical Sciences Academy, and the official publication of IMSA, they also acknowledge this National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. All these factors helped us in getting the, you say, the manuscripts for the publication in the National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. Now, as an editor-in-chief, you can say, for me, the journey was not at all smooth, right? We had so many obstacles. The publisher, I said, the previous publisher, THEMA, was not at all cooperative. And I was damn sure, you can say, that if we would have continued with the THEMA, right, because of their careless attitude, right now, what we are indexed under is Scopus, it would not have been possible if we would have continued with THEMA, because our first issue, the January issue, say, it was printed in the month of July, right? So as an editor-in-chief, it is your prime responsibility that the timely publication of the journal should be mandatory for getting indexed under the standard indexing agencies, right? So when you can understand that when our first issue was getting printed in the month of July, then what will happen to the rest of the third issue? So as an editor-in-chief, I had to take a call, and that call was not an easy for me because I had to convince our society, the office bearers, and the members of the Society of Clinical Anatomists. That was a Herculean task, you can say, for me as an editor-in-chief. But I took the decision, and we shifted our journal from Thema publisher to the Wolters Kluwer, which was another globally recognized publisher, you can say, right? Because the Thema was not fitting as per my vision, you say, or you can say as per our vision, planning, or they were not meeting our timelines. So with the approval of the editorial board members, we finally decided to change the publisher. It was definitely too risky, but always you say, I believe we take risks or lose the chance. If we don't take risks, right, we will not get the opportunity also. And I feel that God helps those who takes risks, right? And definitely God helps us in getting the journal indexed under Scopus later on. So by this, I wanted to convey the message that editorial board must ensure the timely publication of the various issues of the journals, apart from maintaining the quality and the diversity of the articles that will help in indexing of the journal. Now, the website is the face of the journal. You must remember the website is a very important factor, you can say, either for the indexing also, or as I said, that website is the face of the journal, where necessary information should be available to the authors, or not only to the authors, even for the readers or the indexing agencies, you say. And it must contain the abstracting and indexing information, which will help the authors to submit their manuscript, right? Apart from that, on the website, the policies should be clearly defined, like the journal ethics or the scope of the journal. You can say the details of the editorial board is mandatory for indexing agencies also, right? So the details of the editorial board, it must contain the name of the editor. Apart from that, their affiliations, their editorial board, so that anyone can communicate to the editors. So these details should be there on your website. Apart from that, the subscription charges should be clearly mentioned, be it for the institution or the individual subscribers. Apart from that, you can say the articles in the, you can see over here, the articles, the different sections should be there, like articles ahead of the print, or you say the current issue articles, or you can say there should be the digital archiving of the old issue of the article. So whoever wish to go through the previous articles which have been published in the previous years, they should go through those articles, right? So, and the most important, already Professor Anu has discussed about this author guidelines. The author guidelines should be clearly defined or mentioned according to the journal needs and the standards. And of course, you can say the submission details, the portal and everything should be clearly defined, mentioned on the website. And definitely this will reduce, or you can say, half of the works of the editors. And frequently, you should update it often to improve the services, and we do it accordingly. Then coming to the new submission, what are the strategies you should follow? So when it comes to our journal, for any new submission, we give priority to the original articles and the systematic review, because this will help in the indexing. It doesn't mean that we are not accepting the case reports, we are not accepting the short communication, we are not accepting we are accepting everything, right? Be it the case reports, the case series, or the short communication, even later to the editors. These will not help the journal in the indexing, but to promote the authors or to give the latest information, we are also publishing these things, but we are giving priority to the original articles and the systematic reviews or the meta-analysis, you can say, because this will help not only to the authors or the readers, you say, or this will also help us as editorial board or the journal managers, you can say, in helping the journal getting indexed under the different indexing agencies. So editor should check whether a similar article which has already been discussed by this Professor Anu, you can say that editor-in-chief or the editorial board should check whether the similar article has been published recently in the journal or not. If the similar article has been published, we should avoid publishing the same kind of articles. Even in other journals, if similar kind of articles have been published, right, we should avoid publishing those articles which had already been published, because you should ensure that whatever you are publishing, it should add to the existing literatures, right? So priority should be given to those which should add to the existing literatures. Now, apart from that, during the new submission, we see whether it is novel, I said, which should add to the existing literature. The other essential sections we see, like you say, the methodology and the discussion. Why we give emphasis on the methodology? Because methodology, you say, it should be clearly defined so that the other authors or the readers who wish to go ahead with the similar kind of research, right, work, they can, you can say, do accordingly. If the methodology has been clearly defined, they should not face any kind of problem if they want to do similar kind of research, or if whatever the limitations are there in that research, they can do, or they can add to those limitations if the methodology or the discussions has been defined clearly. And apart from that, what we see, if the language is poor, we should give a chance to edit without rejecting the manuscript. Then comes the other aspects, like you say, whether the results are reliable and the clarity of the figures are there. We have already defined in the author's instructions that what kind of images should be there, whether it is JPEG or TIFF, and what are the DPI should be there. We have already defined. So accordingly, the authors, they submit their manuscript. Apart from that, the references, you say, right? References should be clearly mentioned, and we give emphasis that references should be within the 8 to 10 years of the study, you can say. I mean to say, the different references must be quoted in the manuscript. Then you say during this editorial process, you say, since beginning, when I took over as an editor-in-chief, right, the plagiarism, that was one of the important criteria, or you can say, I have given emphasis on the plagiarism, that any manuscript which has been submitted to the National Journal of Clinical Anatomy, which we are going to send for the review process, it should be between 10 to 15%. It should not be more than 15%. Even if it is 15.1%, we send the manuscript back to the authors for the technical modification. So and if it is more than 40% plagiarism, we instantly reject the manuscript, and the manuscript will be considered only for the peer review if the similarity index or the similarity report is less than 15%, or between 15 to 10% maximum, you can say. So editorial board should ensure that they should have some anti-plagiarism software like Turnitin or Authenticate. There are some freely available software also, free of cost, but I won't recommend, or I would not suggest the editorial board to use the free software which are available in the market. You must have the Turnitin, or you say the Authenticate, or you say the Drillbrick. There are so many paid softwares are there. So to check this plagiarism or the similarity index, we must have those softwares. Then if we are not convinced about the above aspects, whatever we discussed, right, we send it back to the authors without much delay. And why I'm giving about this emphasis on the sending back to the authors, because quick response will help you gain authors' trust. It should not that once the authors have been submitted, you keep the manuscript for 6 months and then you send for the technical modifications or the revisions like that, right? So you should be responsive. Very quick response is required, and definitely that will help you gain the author's trust. And they will also revise and respond without much delay. When you are prompt, the authors will also understand and they will be prompt. And we take utmost care not to reveal the author or the institution identity in the manuscript before proceeding with the review process, because Our journal is a double blind peer review. So any kind of information we don't disclose to the reviewers, so that there should be no biasness. So just to avoid any kind of biasness, we hide all kind of information during this technical modifications, all at the level of the technical modification itself. If the manuscript is for the rejection, we do it immediately so that authors can consider some other journal for the submission, and it will save a lot of time, you can say, not only for the reviewers, even it will be saved for the authors, you can say. And apart from that, not only time, even the efforts of the reviewers or the authors will be saved. Now the question arises on what criteria we usually reject. If this manuscript doesn't have proper background of the study, right, then apart from that, the poor methodology, the methodology has been not defined, and then apart from that, the ethical committee approval, it is mandatory for the indexing also. Now if you are going for the indexing under the permit, right, every article, every manuscript should have information regarding the ethical approval. Even some of the studies have been waived off by this ethical committee. That information must be there in the manuscript, that because it is a cadaveric study, that it doesn't need any kind of ethical approval, right? So those things should be clearly mentioned. If the apart from that, if any study which is related to the, you say, the human or the animal, ethical committee is approval is mandatory in the study. Only in case of the retrospective study, the ethical approval is waived off, but that also we need to mention in the manuscript, right? So now what we are doing, what we are following, or as editor-in-chief or the editorial board members, you should follow that. You should give emphasis on all kind of studies, even if it is related to the medical education. The ethical information should be there in the manuscript. When you are rejecting, you must ensure you should be very, very polite when you are rejecting any kind of manuscript. It has been discussed already by Professor Anu Madam, so I will not discussing much on that point. Now,
a gentle reminder for the time. Thank you.
Okay. Now, when you go for this peer review, I said you should have an unbiased review process, right? We follow, I said that National Journal of Clinical Anatomy follow double-blind peer review. So even reviewers in NJCA are included based on their academic, you say, achievements or the experience or the publications already discussed. And we ensure that the first decision is informed to authors within 4 weeks of submission, right? And other comments, when we receive the comments from the reviewers, you say, we meticulously go through them and send only the genuine, you say, and the relevant comments to the author. And we usually give 4 weeks for the revision, but never compromise until the revision is satisfactory and both reviewers suggest modification. We will never accept any article immediately after the submission. Every article has to go the review process, and every article has to do some of the modifications or the revision according to the standards of the journal. And we avoid unnecessarily delay. And if during the re-review process, if the reviewers take a lot of time, we as an editorial board member, we intervene and we do it at our own level. So I just wanted to say that when we submit the manuscript, we become very happy. But there are journals who take a lot of time when sending you the acceptance letter. Even I tell you about myself only. In 2010, I submitted one of my manuscript in Bratislava Medical Journal, and I got acceptance at the end of the, you said, December 2012. So we should avoid so much of delay in accepting a manuscript. Now, there will be a dilemma, right? Sometimes there will be a contradictory reviews by reviewers. Then we go for the third review, and then accordingly, the editorial board member decides, and ultimately the editor-in-chief will take a call whether to accept the manuscript or to not. Now, if we see regarding this content, the grammar editing and the language editing, Madam has already discussed. So because of the time, constants will escape. Now, finally, it is coming to the acceptance. So regarding if we see acceptance, only the criteria, if the manuscript meets the criteria, right, of the journal, then only we accept any manuscript, and we ensure to publish this required number of the original articles in each and every issue, right, because that will again help you in the indexing. So when you are publishing any issue, you must ensure that a limited number of original articles and the review articles are there in each issue, right? So approximately when you talk about the Scopus, at the end of the year, minimum 30 articles you should publish in a year to get it indexed under Scopus, right? So those criteria you should follow. Now, while going for this proofreading, right, decide the table of the contents and always look for the variety of the articles, maybe of the different specialty or the subspecialty, you can say. It doesn't mean that all the articles should be from the gross anatomy. It should be from the gross anatomy, histology, you say the osteology or the medical education, whatever the aims and the scope of the journal are there, we should follow accordingly. Then the editorial board should be equally responsible, and our team works more for the, you say, the finer or the most exemplary modification of the accepted manuscript. Because when you give the acceptance, what will happen? The authors, when you send for this proofreading, authors will only concerned about their name and the affiliations. They don't go through the details of the, you say, the manuscript. So as editorial board members, we go through each and every article for doing this proofreading, so that none of the error should be there when you finally publish your issue or the articles online. So the release of the issue periodically should be mandatory, not that one issue you should publish on time and another should be delayed 4 months or something like that. So it should be periodically. And what we are following, that suppose it is January, March issue is there. So we are publishing that first issue, January, March issue in the very first week of January, not on the 31st March. So to facilitate all these things, we have created a WhatsApp group of the authors of that issue particularly, and the editorial board members are there. So that will save a lot of time. So the editors can follow accordingly, but it will be difficult if the journal is a huge and the huge number of articles we are publishing. In that condition, it will be difficult. Now, while going for the print version, you say, right, you should follow the proofreading. Whatever I said just now, we'll skip over here. During this hard copy, go for the print version and look for any corrections before you order for the print, which usually when we publish online, right, within 1 week, we give order for the print version. Now, what we should do, that we must follow this. Never any pressure to accept the article, be it your friend, family, or even the higher authorities. We stick to the criteria or the guidelines which you have mentioned. Consider only, you say, the credibility of the manuscript. You should not compromise at all, right? And I'm not exaggerating. Even if I am one of the co-author and the reviewer comments is not proper, we will reject that article. We will not compromise at all. So follow the deadline to release the issue on the decided date and maintain the team spirit, which is very important, because alone you cannot do anything. For that, you must encourage your team members and give due credit to the team members. Ultimately, as an editor-in-chief, I said that when I started as an editor-in-chief, I was alone, but we built an efficient team to getting indexed under the Scopus. And you say the journey was very challenging, but it is now a worth memorable, you can say. And I always believe nothing is impossible. And you, as an editor-in-chief or the editor board member, you say you inspire the team about the same. And about the journey, you say it will continue. And I'm sure that very soon, National Journal of Clinical Anatomy will be indexed under ST and PubMed. And for that, you say that we give complete, you say, the credibility to the team members, be it the editorial board members, be it the authors, be it the readers, be it the subscribers, or be it the society members. Until unless you work in a team, right, you will not achieve the success. So a team, you say, is many hands, but one mind, right? So thank you so much for the patient hearing. This is all about the what strategies I follow as an editor-in-chief about this National Journal of Clinical Anatomy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for this wonderful presentation. Team is always required. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
Because my internet connection has gone, and so I'm doing from my mobile.
Yes,
Sir
sir.
is rightly says nothing is impossible, because impossible means I am possible.
Right, sir.
Impossible means I am
That self
possible.
says.
That's what it says. I am possible, and you had done this mammoth task of making your journal recognized, and we will reach that we will take your guidance to make our journal recognized in so many indexing. And you has rightly mentioned that is miles to go. And you had mentioned regarding the team. And I always say that individually we achieve, together we excel. So if you have to excel, you have to make a good team. And good team is always just like you had demonstrated the brain that has got multiple hand, but with one brain. So we have got one notion that make our journal indexing, get more and more paper. Don't patronize or don't be overwhelmed when you get more number. You have to scrutinize all these things, and you have to make your journal very perfect. And regarding the plagiarism, we are using very good software from the company, and so it is not there. And if plagiarism is there, we are directly rejecting that paper. So very good elaboration. So congratulations. And as such, your name is Ravi. Ravi in Gujarati is sun. So you are signing from the Ganges, that is near the Rishikesh. So
Thank you so much.
congratulations to be there in the Rishikesh. And I wish that when my next visit will be there in Rishikesh, I will visit you. And you see, Dr. Singhal has also joined this webinar and is also conveyed congratulations to you. Now over to Dr. Amina, madam.
Dr. Ravi, it was a wonderful presentation. I must appreciate there was never a single dull moment. And I think I am saying that what Dr. Manish Pandya has said, that we are all motivated. All the editors are motivated enough that we'll take this editorial process as seriously, as dedicatedly that you have, then we'll follow your footstep, and we're looking forward for your guidance. I must congratulate you. And on behalf of IESRF, we once again, we're grateful to you for accepting the invitation and sharing your knowledge with us, your struggles and your achievement and the success. And on behalf of IESR, please accept a token of appreciation, a certificate of recognition. I think it is not much for the mammoth task you have done, but still it's just a token that we appreciate you, and we're looking forward to hear from you in future also. May I have the video further? Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you. We have some couple of questions. I think since there's time constraint. So, Dr. Pandey, will you like to take up few questions?
Madam, in my
I wanted to answer all those questions. What was there during Anu madam's presentation? So whatever questions, I would love to answer those questions, because that will definitely help not only the editors, will help the authors also. Right.
So,
yes,
so
Sir, can we request you to please answer on type also? You may type that answer, and Dr. Manish sir, I request you.
It will take a lot of time, ma'am. It is better to answer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes, yes. I'm requesting Dr. Manish sir to please take few questions, and all other should be writing in there. Thank you, sir.
Well, can I
So,
request
Dr.
Ravi to share your mail ID also in the chat box?
Yes. Shyamal Astekar asking, can I get Dr. Ravi's email? So that is one of the questions. So it shows your popularity, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Pawan Kumar is asking that something is very difficult to review any manuscript just because of grammatical error or language issue. In that condition, reviewers should continue to review that manuscript or first inform to editor for such issue without reviewing it.
Sir, what
This is
happens
from Pawan?
when we receive the manuscript, right, during technical modification as a editorial board members only, we go through the manuscript. If there is a grammatical error or too much, so many things are there, what we do, we advise the author that you take the help of the manuscript writing, software is there, or the peoples are there who help in writing the manuscript, right? And that is a paid service, you can say. So what we do, that we recommend those services to the authors, and the authors, they directly communicate for those services. We just communicate to them, and those services are the paid services. They pay directly to those services, and then they resubmit to our journal, and then we go for the review process, right? But if
Yes,
limited errors are there, then we do it at our level, and then we send
Yes.
for the process.
So few grammatical mistake we can correct, and usually it's
yeah.
my notion that whenever I am reviewing a person, I will just make a highlight that this sentence is double, this here you have to write a comma. So this small mistake we can rectify, and this will improve our knowledge also.
Exactly.
I am whatsoever enriched with knowledge because of this journal, because every day we have to review many paper. So our knowledge is always increased. Dr. Abhimanyu is asking that sometimes about author responses are not communicated to the reviewer's comment. In this context, how you are quality production achieved?
So what happens, suppose reviewers has given some comments, right? And the authors are not revising, or they are not able to understand. So even as a editors, we suggest, right, sir, those things are needed. If it is worth publishing, then we as an editorial board member, we help the authors so that that work should get published and people should get benefit out of that, right? So even in some of the manuscript, as an editor-in-chief or my team, whoever is there, whomever we allot, what we do, what we follow, suppose manuscript has come, we assign that manuscript to one of the specific editor, section editors,
Yes,
right? So they go through that manuscript, and then they rate accordingly that whether it is worth to publish or not. Accordingly, we help the authors. If it is worth, whatever support is needed from the editor side, we provide them. As per the reviewers' comments, also, we modify, right? So
whenever the work is like unsigned diamond, we just sign it by our processes, because so many times the good work is there, but they don't know how to get it published.
Exactly.
So we have to help them as editor-chief or editor team. So thank you very much. Right. And we have got lots of participants, and I will request that Dr. Ravi, you should go on a chat question answer box, and you can answer the query. So with your answer, people will get your email also. And congratulations, you have done a fantastic job.
I can see the question from Dr. Pramod Kumar Manji. Decision of publication charges is whose responsibility? Editor of publication house. See, it depends, sir. If it is a society journal, right, you can take decision, you can recommend to the society. Ultimately, it is the office bearers who will take the decision, and it has to be certified by the GB, right? What we do, that as per the need, editorial board take decision, right? We recommend to the executive committee. The executive committee will further approve. If it is approved by the executive committee, then it goes to the general body. If it is approved by the GB, then we implement in our journal. It is like that. But when you talk about the publication house, so it depends on the publication house. Nothing is there in the editorial board, as per my understanding.
Yes, sir. We are just preparing a dish, and they have to make a good dish with the printing process.
Okay. Another question is, what is more important, indexing or impact factor of a journal from the author's point of view? See, the very first thing is the indexing, and then it comes to the this impact factor, right? It is always appreciated if the journal is having a high impact factor. But first of all, you should see the indexing, whether it is indexed under DOAJ, it is indexed under Scopus, it is indexed under this PubMed, and then you see if it is your work is worth, then you can go for the journal which is having the high impact factor, right? So it all depends on the situation. Then I can say we must have section editors from the editorial board. Yes, we recommend section editors because one person cannot be expert in all the subspecialties. So because of that, we should have the section editors. Most of the editor forward the comments and query of reviewer. Is it right practice? See, whatever the comments, we must respect the reviewers because reviewers
Yes.
are the expert of their domain, their field, right? So even if you are editor-in-chief or you are editor, you must give due respect to the reviewer, right? Until unless it is very mandatory or something like that. Suppose the manuscript you have sent to some of the new or the young reviewer, right? And they have given some absurd comment which might hurt the author. So those comments should be avoided by or should be taken care by the editor or the editorial board. Otherwise, because we respect, we know that they are the expert of their field, we forward the comments of the reviewer to the authors. How important is for a journal to have a legal backup? Is it always necessary? See, it is necessary but not mandatory, right? Because there will be issues, right? So you can have a legal expert in your panel, right? But if you have permanent, you will have to spend a lot of money. So I will not advise, right, to have a permanent legal expert. If needed, you can have in
You
your
can hire.
You can refer the case if it is needed.
I think, sir, almost all the questions are answered.
Okay.
And because of time constraint, you can answer it
Right.
on your email. Now I'll request Nikita madam.
I was very hurried because I got the gentle reminder, right?
Yeah.
So somehow I wanted to.
because otherwise Zoom will crash.
Yeah, I understand. But thank you. It was so much. It was. I enjoyed interacting with you people, sir, and I will love to interact in future also. I'm really grateful to Dr. Anu ma'am who has invited me and gave me an opportunity to interact with you. And I always feel that we should have more number of journals, good journals, right? So the authors can have the various number of journals to publish their manuscript. And if we have the more number of journals, the more number of manuscripts will come, right? So we should help each other in getting the journals indexed. And that is my priority, sir. Right.
So again, the same, individually we achieve, together we excel. So
Right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi.
I can
Now
see Dr. S.S. Jha, sir. I'm from, I did my MBBS from Sri Krishna Medical College, Muzaffarpur. Wrongly it was said Muzaffarnagar because this side they know Muzaffarnagar and that side they know Muzaffarpur, right? So I did my MBBS from Sri Krishna Medical College, Muzaffarpur. And I'm glad to know you, sir, because you are from the same state. Very happy to see you, sir. Because whatever I am today, it is all because of Sri Krishna Medical College, Muzaffarpur. Thank you so much.
Dr.
Thank you.
Ravi,
So we have
even otherwise, I will be happy to tell you that for some time I was a teacher in SK Medical College, Muzaffarpur.
Great,
So,
sir. Great.
Right.
So nice of you, sir.
Right.
I'm glad to know about you, sir.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. I'm honored.
So now,
Splendid.
Dr. Nikita madam and Rakesh Pandit, you can have your concluding remarks, and we can.
Before concluding, actually, we have a very good informations for orchid and the value and importance of orchid by Dr. Dheeraj Nikum, sir. So, Dr. Dheeraj, sir, can I request you to please come forward and share that information with all of our editors? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Definitely.
Yes, Dr. Dheeraj.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Dr. Dheeraj Nikum started sharing the screen. Yes.
Yes, sir. First, thank you, Nikita ma'am, for her invitation. And I must congratulate Dr. and Professor Ravi, sir, for his excellent and practical aspect and as well as applicable strategies for the journal editorial board as well as the indexing status. And one more important point, to provide a glamour to the Anatomical Society of India, SOCA, as well as to the NJCA, just like IFA in the Bollywood, you have the IFA in the anatomy now. So congratulations for that.
Thanks a lot, sir.
So just to overview orchid, we had already time constraint. So just 2-3 minutes for the orchid. Orchid is for the researcher. We go for the just brief overview of the orchid. So all the author should know what is ORCID mean. ORCID is nothing but an open researcher and contributor ID. It is a unique ID provided by the organization for the authors or researchers throughout his or her academic career. It is more than 3 million researchers are there having this researcher ID, which correctly connect their academic experience as well as the contribution. Nowadays, many societies, just like Science Plus, IEEE, and other distinguished journal as well as the organization asking mandatory ORCID registration or ID for their submission of manuscript. So just for the author, what is the ORCID procedure to register? It is just a three-step procedure. First, you have to go for the ORCID website. Just you have to register, fill all the personal detail, just like qualification, work affiliation, all the variation of your name, and ORCID automatically add your publication and review to your profile. ORCID is just to complete the profile and update your profile just for the sake of convenience, and then you can reuse it after the once registration. That is the biggest advantage of the ORCID, and it is free of charges for the authors. That is the biggest advantage. So this is just a three-step procedure. You have to add the personal data, security and notification. You have to accept it so that you can get the password for that, and visibility and terms should be accepted as per the ORCID. This is my personal profile having the 18-digit ORCID ID along with the Scopus ID, and all the details are filled. We have the employment, education, qualification, publication. Then we can add the publication automatically with the help of this ORCID website, or we can must say it is with the help of Scopus only. So we have to link the Scopus for that, and as well as we add the review for that. For the review, we take the help of the Publons. So this is the personal details should be added for the login and password. After getting login and password, the security mail is came from the ORCID, and you have to accept that. And then along with this, you have to update and add all your publication with the help of DOI, PubMed series, or it is advised that it is mainly with the help of Scopus. So that Scopus is the largest indexing strategy on index database, so that it is beneficial for the author for the more validity. The Scopus, we have to link the Scopus with the ORCID, and we go for the step-by-step approach for your qualification, adding publication, reward, membership, and grants, as well as the award for your say. So this is the screen showing the addition of the Scopus, linking of the Scopus to the ORCID, so that we have to review the publication, and we have advised to add this if you are the ORCID ID. This is a simple procedure for the author. Just have to fill up the personal information, name, address, bibliography, biography, affiliation, education, and mainly the research activity, mainly the publication and peer review procedures. And for the institute, it is the patent and grants. So ORCID has many member organizations. So what is the need of the actual ORCID? Because in India also we have more the author having the same name or common name. So there is a problem, because you go for the Google Scholar, there are the thousands of publication on my name, but I am not a Dheeraj Nikun. So I don't have this liability, because we have the very science modification, various databases. So if you have common name and if you have a common surname or common initial, there is a lots of confusion. So overall the globe, there are the 60 million authors which have the major in journal citation abstract available, but more than 2/3 of them have share the same common name, common surname, or common name. So the biggest disadvantage of this any publication strategy, so to have this personal digital ID number should be mandatory for that. So researchers have to just go for the registration, login ID password should be given, and you have to create it. Along with that, you have to update your profile, and you go for this continuously addition of your profile, because this is a continuous process. This is a flowchart showing when we have the ORCID ID, we have to add your publication, connect throughout the world, connect with the organization, and synchronize your data so that it should be beneficial for us for the further proceeding, because we don't have the time to compile all this. So if you enter once, you have to reuse often. With the help of this ORCID ID, researchers has benefited, along with the publishers are benefited to assist this authorship. Fundraisers are helpful for giving the awards, and employees should be confirmation regarding your affiliation. So what is ORCID mean? ORCID is nothing but a non-profit, non-priority open organization. It is founded in 2010, working from 2012, independent community-driven community organization. And the biggest advantage is it is free for the individual. It is supported by the organizational member who support their user through integration approach. So what are the benefits? The main important thing for the authors is what are the benefits of this ORCID? It is reliably and easily connect with you with your contribution and confirm that along with your affiliation. And the personal identity should be stand up in a crowd so that it elevates the mistaken identity. It saves your time. If you enter once, if you can reuse often, that is the most biggest advantage of this. And it improves the recognition and discoverability of you to your research output. So there is a list of work, past funding, current affiliation is there, you have to edit that. So we are living in a digital world nowadays. So everyone is digitalized, everything is digitalized. So you must have the digital name, that is ORCID ID. So your own and control your record, managing it, what the information is correct and how it's shared, it is depend upon your privacy policy. So it enabled you to compile with the organization for the fundraising. That is the biggest advantage of this ORCID. And there are more and more systems that is connected with the ORCID. So it is globally important for your publications. And the biggest advantage is it's free to register and use. So this is our ORCID profile. We have to edit it, create it, along with we have to maintain it with the help of addition of your publication as well as review, and you have to control your privacy policies. So there are the number of publication community which are associated with the ORCID, mainly the Elsevier, Hinari, Science, PLOS, along with many are coming up for this publication community with the ORCID. So it is the biggest advantage for the author as well as the publishers. So these are the things, these are the databases, these are the publications, these are the publishers which are using the continuously the ORCID. So the biggest benefit for the publishers also to identify the authors, to simplify the manuscript, to improve the enhanced author search because they have provided with the unique ID. And to review this research purposes, acknowledge the peer review is also biggest advantage with the help of Publon. Link your authors. This is the transparency showing the biggest advantage of this author. There are the lots of author, but each author is provided with the unique ORCID ID for that. So this is the biggest advantage. So if you are spending more time making the contribution and if you are less time managing them, ORCID is for you. So you have to must register for the ORCID. If you enter once, you can reuse often. That is the biggest advantage of ORCID. So the last one word regarding the profile system. ORCID is not a profile system. It is open system managed by the researchers as well as ORCID community, whereas the ResearchGate, Google Scholar, Research ID, Academia are the profile system. They are the managed by the researchers themselves. So they have some lacunae in that profile system. So the biggest advantage, we should go for the ORCID rather than the profile system. If you have profile system, no additional benefits are there because they are the individually managed by the authors. So it is a priority and closed system. So author along with the ResearchGate, along with the Google Scholar, we should go or we should mandate for the ORCID ID nowadays. So the biggest advantage is it is free for the user as well as it saves time by connecting you with the help of library, with the help of publisher, with the help of fundraiser, and it gives you the unique identity. So these are my sources. There is a link for the YouTube to go for the registration for the ORCID for the authors or the researchers, and these are my reference from the orchid.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikum sir, and thank you very much elaborating the importance of ORCID ID. I can say in one sentence that ORCID is Aadhaar card for research.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
It is just everything is now linked with Aadhaar card. So our all researches are linked with ORCID. And I had also opened my ORCID ID and all my presentations are there. And I have to upgrade every time. But there is a very big thing. Just write that orchid.org. Otherwise on net, you will get the orchid flower.
ORCID. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Otherwise you will get the, or so many orchid flowers are there. So thank you very much. Yes, Nikita madam.
Thank you. So we have to conclude the session now.
Yes,
Dr.
madam.
Nikum, I would like to say you thanks very much. You did a wonderful job, and we need our all authors, reviewers, editors should have their ORCID ID. And I request you, sir. We are coming with the reviewer workshop as well as author workshop in the subsequent months. So I would request you to please even create the awareness and come to us for the presentation, this presentation again, because in author workshop we have a huge number of authors. We expecting researchers there, so we want to create the awareness about the ORCID for all of our related associated researchers. Thank you. So now I would like to thanks Dr. Anu Madam, Dr. S.S. Jha, President IESRF, Dr. Ameena Ma'am, Dr. Anu Ma'am, Dr. Ravi Sir for accepting the invitation and giving the fantastic presentation, Dr. Vinod Sir, Dr. Dheeraj Nikum Sir, and most of all, Dr. Manish Pandya. You
Thank you.
conducted fantastically. And
Thank you,
now
ma'am.
now I have a small announcement for tomorrow, and this announcement is that we are having the last session for this editorial workshop tomorrow, in which we discuss about we have a lecture by Dr. Swayan sir on the trends of trends in publications and the conflict of interest questions and solution by Dr. Lalit sir and Dr. S.S. Jha. So I would like to request you all to please join tomorrow, and thank you all for joining today. Have a great time ahead. Goodbye. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.